Good morning, Superkickin with Steven fans. Happy to be with you. It's been a little bit, few days extra just because of Elimination Chamber. We went live last week on a Wednesday, and just to get a chance to talk it up the next day, but that's okay. Um, Pretty predictable stuff. Not a lot happened that really is changing the course of anything. But we got my partner over there, the Greg One, talking it up. Let's just get into it. I think we have not been here since this came up, Greg. So there it is. Undertaker is our first official inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, well deserved. I said it all along. He should be by himself, honestly. I wish they could do it like Andre the Giant style. There are other names being rumored, so I don't think he'll be the only one, but I feel like he'll be the one. He's obviously headliner. It's weird because they're doing the Hall of Fame after SmackDown, so you wonder if they'll just do, a couple, maybe Undertaker and somebody else, or really, you feel like you'll have to shorten some of it. Our last call question, Greg, we will bring that up later. As you can see, we're all probably alluding to for that one, possibly who should induct him. So we'll leave that to the end. But I mean, the Undertaker, greatest character of all time, just did everything the right way, inside and outside the ring. Uh, Politically, political beliefs aside, personality aside, but showing up at Bad Bunny now, showing up to Pitbull's concert. So he is ready to do retirement the right way, Greg, I could tell. So I guess the question is, do you think he'll ever do anything backstage wise, or do you think he's comfortable doing what he's doing now?
I think he'll be around. Um, when you've been in it as long as he has, well, maybe three, somewhere between 3 and 4 decades now,
Mhm.
that you'll never be completely removed from the business. He's going to enjoy retirement, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, like seeing him pop up, here and there at the ball game or the racetrack or wherever he's
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure he'll be backstage at some shows, when they come to Texas or if he happens to be in the same place at the same time as they are, and just kind of letting the new kids bend his ear, give advice, and then everything like that. But will he have a week to week job? No. Is he going to take up a office in Titan Tower? No. But I think the guys in the back will have his number in case they want to talk to him about, their gimmick or how to make themselves better or something like that. So he'll be available to the guys in the back
Mhm.
without physically being there.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll still be a student of the game. He's still going to watch the new crop, and he'll have his things to say about it. So,
Mhm.
aside from the spot appearance here and there, um, he's not going to be a consistent feature on WWE programming anymore. But to everybody, he still loves the business. You can't do this for 30, 40 years without an intense love of the business. And he's going to be available to all the guys and girls in the back if they want his input.
Awesome. It looks like Big Ben is in our chat. He said he met some great people this weekend at the fights, including Undertaker and Dana Brooke. Yeah. If there was, I believe that was probably
Nice.
UFC fight because I think Dana Brooke is engaged to a UFC fighter. So not surprising that she was kind of there milling around and, hanging out or whatever. So how about this one, Greg? Should Michelle McCool be inducted at this, not, obviously at the same time, but do you think that maybe Michelle McCool gets a nod this year?
No,
No.
because then it
Ever?
makes it no. I
Okay.
know she was a big part of the transition from divas to you know the divas era
Yeah.
into the era we have now. Um, but she really hasn't done much that was memorable aside from step out of the era of bra and panty matches and having legit matches. Um, Aside from the whole Lay Cool gimmick with her and Layla, she really wasn't that. memorable. I can't think of matches that she had that were
For sure.
barn burner type matches. So in that aspect, she was one of many, uh, because she wasn't the only one who helped that evolution from the Divas era into the current era. Um, her contributions to be recognized, and um, but Hall of Fame, no. I mean,
There
there's a
probably is
lot.
that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there's a lot of women I would put ahead of her before thinking of her as a Hall of Fame entrant.
I was gonna say, yeah, there probably is that weird gap years, like between the Attitude Era or like, the Ruthless Aggression era to that whole PG era, that weird
Yeah,
gap years. So, like you said, in Lake Cool, uh, Maria was kind of in that weird, gap years.
yeah,
Because the Bella twins, I feel like they almost overlapped that too. But of course, they kind of went above and beyond everybody. I mean, just with outside the ring and inside the ring. So that kind of, that
yeah,
whole total, and even that total divas crop, I mean, we still forget. I mean, I think Carmel was part of that first season, and I thought Dana or somebody else was that. Mandy Rose was part of that first crop, which is funny to think. But yeah, I didn't know. I feel like she'll probably get in. I mean, there probably are more deserving, but at the same time, you're probably waiting for some of those women. I mean, like Victoria, that's a name that always comes up. Why hasn't Victoria been in? Because she just really stepped above what she should have been, something
yeah.
like that. So, um, we'll,
And China's still not in.
she's never getting in. I think that's why they did the. I mean, it is what it, unless Vince goes away completely. But I mean, even Triple H, I think he's tried to vouch for her, but it's. I think that's why they did her with DX, because then that puts her in, but doesn't necessarily put her on her own. So
Hmm.
yeah, but definitely well deserved. I mean, it makes sense. It's in Texas. I think some people were vouching for The Rock, but I think if you're going to do The Rock, it's probably next year. If you're in LA, I mean, The
Yeah,
Rock or Batista. That I still think that needs to be one of your headliners. And if The Rock is wrestling, I'd probably wait a year. If he's going to be at WrestleMania, I'd give it a year. So I probably think Batista might be your big um, your big star for next year because he isn't in yet. I think he kind of denied last year just because he wanted to be in front of the crowd. But I think Batista should be in um, definitely next year. So yeah. What else we got? Next up, well, I guess we finally saw the writing on the wall, Greg. Cesaro
hey,
and Claudio now. Um, he actually wanted to stay. That's what I'm reading. He really wanted to stay. Make that paycheck. I mean, it sounds like AJ Styles got a pretty good deal. Sami Zayn got a good deal. Kevin Owens got a good deal. Cesaro's, pretty much right up there in terms of ability. Now, I don't think they hold him in that regard, obviously, but so it's going to be interesting to see where he pops up next. And, I'm sure, well, he's free, so he could show up as early as Wednesday night on, Dynamite. I don't know, Greg. Do we see him there yet?
no, I mean not anytime soon.
I'd wait
His
till I'd wait till after maybe Double or Nothing. Let him do some independent stuff, and then have them that big pop up. I don't know. What are we thinking?
yeah, his careers take such a nosedive lately with how they're booking him, plus his shortcomings as far as not being good enough on the mic, whether that's just his natural, the way he is, or the material they gave him to put over. Um, for whatever reason, it didn't work. And if you can't take care of business on the stick, you can be the best performer on the planet, and you're not going to get over. You're not going to get the TV time. You're not going to get quality matches, um, because it's sports entertainment. You have to be able to do everything. He had great matches. I can't think of one stinker that he's had, but they've been, basic matches. And aside from a handful of matches, like during the Seth Rollins feud, um, he really didn't get a chance to stand out. Those couple matches he had with Roman Reigns before that took a abrupt end. Uh, there wasn't much memorable over the last couple of years that he could really sink his teeth into. So he needs to take the time to reinvent himself, accentuate what he does best, and then hopefully AEW will recognize that and play on that instead of um, burying him on the card, and they'll figure out a way to use him better than WWE is. So whether it's letting him speak and say what he wants to say, or giving him a manager, put him in a stable, uh, he's a talent that needs some spotlight. So I'm sure the next organization is going to do a lot better job.
Well, when we think back, so WrestleMania 30, he wins Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and you gave him Paul Heyman, and then that just kind of blew up. Like, who's to say if you give him that actual chance, what does he do with it? Like, because they didn't go all in like they should have the night after Mania. So I thought they kind of turned, they had Heyman cut a heel promo for him, but he, picked up the big show, dumps him out. He's got one of the biggest pops, baby face reactions. You had everything there on a silver platter, and you just didn't roll with it. I mean, now granted, he kind of salvaged it with the bar. I mean, who would have thought, him and
Yeah.
Sheamus, put together, him and Tyson Kidd. And I mean, in a way, like some people said, at least his last WrestleMania match, he went out with a bang. I mean, what more could you ask for going against Seth Rollins, one of your best friends, and pulling out the airplane spin, that or the UFO, whatever they call it, that he hasn't, ever pulled that out. So, and then like you said, doing a couple matches with Roman, and unfortunately Bryan Danielson leaves and doesn't keep give him a little rub in Vince McMahon's ear to keep him going. But yeah, we pretty much saw it. Now, like I said, it is interesting that he wanted to stick around. I feel bad for Xavier Woods. All the party is gone now, so what's Xavier Woods going to do? And it is interesting,
Yeah.
too, how Kofi and Big E keep being referred to as Kofi and Big E and not New Day, but, hopefully that's just a little blip in the road right now. So, like you said, I think maybe just sit back, like you said, working on. I just don't know how he could reinvent himself because he is he kind of is who he is. And I think that's what he wants to be. Let him shine like that. Maybe put him in with Tully Blanchard and FTR, hard-nosed guys
Yeah.
that just work, almost like a four horseman, where he's probably the Tully Blanchard or something like that. So I would like to see that, and kind of see where he goes. But I think maybe, like I said, maybe after Double or Nothing, or leading into Double or Nothing, maybe he's the Battle Royale. Because some people brought up, what better way than him to grab the brass ring, like literally to really kind of,
Yeah.
most times we don't, now you do wonder with Cody Rhodes going from AEW if that would be a thing to do, because it sounds like now AEW is like, okay, Cody Rhodes is kind of the WWE's cheap shot thing artist. I don't think the Young Bucks and Omega really cared about that, but they just went with it, being EVPs and probably weren't really pushing against it. But you do wonder if the WWE shots will be as much now with that gone. So yeah. And then the other piece of news I thought was interesting. Now, normally, Greg, I wouldn't care if somebody's going to show up on Pat McAfee. Like Brock Lesnar was on there. That was pretty cool. He was destroying the stuff and saying yeah a lot, or what a lot, like Stone Cold. But Vince McMahon appearing on Pat McAfee is pretty big news. Especially for hearing the rumors that I'm chuckling to myself because, dear God, this cannot happen.
Vince McMahon cannot wrestle at WrestleMania, no matter how hard we push him. Now, Austin Theory, though, does need an opponent, Greg. And I mean, do I want to give him Pat McAfee? No. But what else is there right now? We even said it. Who else is there to really, put a really good shine on, Austin Theory? So this is interesting because obviously there's going to be some storyline. This isn't Vince McMahon going on there to talk to Pat McAfee like in an interview. This is obviously storyline driven.
Yeah.
I mean, why? It's like when Adam Cole showed up. Like Pat McAfee and Adam Cole weren't just talking in a real life interview. That was to push the narrative. So, I mean, it is kind of cool for McAfee to get this kind of, you know, um, publicity out of it. To get him involved in the storyline with his show. I mean, that's gonna, put even more eyes on his show. Not that they don't have much, like, not that they don't have a lot of eyes anyway. I mean, they just signed a $120 million deal with FanDuel, so obviously they're doing okay. But if this is leading to Vince and Pat, though, Greg, oh my God, like it should be the pre-show, you know, and then who even goes over? Because what does he even do? So I believe it's all about Vince kind of talking up Austin Theory. I wonder if Austin Theory would show up just to kind of play that up. So, how about your own thoughts on it?
It was interesting. Definitely didn't expect it. And I agree, it's going to be something it's going to build on a storyline, but what storyline? Um, I would be more intrigued if Pat McAfee wasn't a part of WWE. Um, his show is big, one of the biggest sports podcasts uh, on in the country. Period. So it's already going to get a lot of people listening to it, tuned into it, and even if you're not a wrestling fan, you know who Vince McMahon is. So it's going to do a huge rating, and it's a good idea for Vince McMahon to go on just because it's more potential WrestleMania um, eyeballs. So it's a great idea for her to do it. Now, what are you going to push? Like you said, I don't want him to be in a match for any reason. Um, at the same time, could it be, your final lesson, you have to beat me kind of thing in relation to Austin Theory?
Oh, you're thinking Austin and Vince,
Yeah, it
not the Austin and Vince that we would have thought.
exactly, exactly. In Texas even, um, or you know, that would be another interesting thing. Austin versus Austin, um, but that's not going to happen. But
No.
the way he's been, these are your lessons, and he's been sitting under Vince's learning tree. Maybe this is the final lesson, and involves Vince versus Theory in an actual match. It would be, intriguing in a way as a car accident is intriguing. It's that you don't want to
Yes.
look, but you can't stop yourself from looking. Um, so I can see something like that, or maybe he announces who Austin Theory is going to go up against, or
Yeah.
um, there's so much. It's definitely going to be a reason that I haven't listened to Pat McAfee show for any reason. I hear enough of him on SmackDown. I like him, but I haven't been tempted to listen to his podcast. I listen to enough podcasts as it is, but this is definitely going to have my attention to see what the big bombshell is, because if he's going to come on, he's going to drop something big, to get those Pat McAfee's audience listening and potentially watching WrestleMania. So many ways he can go, but those are the two conclusions I'm going to give you right now. Is that Austin is going to have a match against him, or he's going to announce who Austin is going to go up against at WrestleMania, and maybe that guy is the guy who's going to be his WrestleMania moment, his chance to break out and show he's learned the lessons that he's been teaching him. So
yeah. Big Ben's got the question. Might drop that he is selling the company. Like we always say, Greg, until we see those words, WWE has been sold by Vince McMahon to blah, 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 he's never selling. I mean, I just can't ever find a time, until he's in the grave. Like, like I said, until I see those words, and even then, what, that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, I mean, and I guess the most surprising thing would be if this is a legit just interview. I mean, who knows? Maybe, I mean, it does sound like Vince loves Pat, so maybe he's like, why don't I come on and do a little talk and just but I guess that would be on the rare end, the low end of what exactly could happen. But yeah, I feel like there's got to be more than meets the eyes here, and it's not just Vince talking to Pat McAfee like Aaron Rodgers does every week. It's got to be a little bit more. So,
hey, me and Ben are on the same page as far as end of the year. I put it out there that WWE will be sold this year. So I don't think he's going to announce it here. That would be a bad idea. Right before WrestleMania. Oh, by the way, we're selling the company. So that's not going to happen. But Ben, I'm with you that it will happen this year. And I see Disney being the big players as far as who is going to buy them. Disney has a big chunk of ESPN or has bought ESPN, at least their partners. ESPN already has a big stock in the UFC, so it's not like they're new to the whole combat situation. So this is just, you have sports entertainment over here, you have mixed martial arts over here, and boxing in the middle, because ESPN does have a boxing arm. So I think in the end, Disney is going to be who ends up buying the WWE, as much as I hate saying that sentence. They're my leader in the clubhouse. So shout out to you, Ben. And I do think it's going to happen sometime this year, but not on this show, and definitely not before WrestleMania.
Well, you also wonder maybe NBC, because NBC has their network already. I mean, who's to say they don't fork out a few more billions? And that's the thing, like, what is it going to even sell for? I mean, that's probably, Disney would be interesting, because maybe they might actually build a Hall of Fame and, by Disney World. So that'd be kind of cool. They got plenty of land. I mean, I've heard Disney has so much land in Orlando, we don't even know half the, they have they have untapped land for Disney World. So who's to say, they could open up a little WWE Hall of Fame finally. Let's see what Big Ben, he says, I hope he never sells it. I think it should. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, it probably should stay in the family. It's one of those things is like, but then again, who's to say Stephanie doesn't want to sell it down the road? Or I feel like I think we've already written Shane out of the will, out of the everything. He was with somebody yesterday. I saw he came up in my Twitter feed hanging out with somebody, a Red Sox player, former Red Sox player. I can't remember, but I was like, oh look, there's Shane. How about that? So yeah. Well, of course, the big fight will be Shane McMahon's got three boys, and then Stephanie and Triple H have 3 girls. So who knows down the road, Greg? We might have a trios match for control of WWE, because those kids won't even get
in their gender trios match. Perfect.
Yes. Or with the contract of WWE hanging in the balance at at WrestleMania, what bigger match could you ask for? Just throw all the kids. Throw Sky and Monroe Mizanin in. Throw, Ronda Rousey's baby in there. We're gonna have some up and coming baby, kids pretty soon. It's gonna be interesting to see in 15, 20 years, like what kids, might end up in maybe we might get the Bella twins, we might get Mateo and Buddy having a little sibling
True.
rivalry like their moms. So
Hey, don't forget JoJo and Bray. They're gonna have a kid to throw in the mix.
Trying to think because there was all the Sarah Logan's kid. There's all these babies out. The Maria and Mike Bennett. There's a lot of babies out there that are looking to take Hook. Is he still a baby?
He is still a baby.
So, all right. That is all the news I got. Did I miss anything, Greg, that you might want to kind of drop out there that caught your eye that I might have missed?
I think that's it so far, as far as the new news. Yeah.
Let's do some Rogue Energy commercial break real quick, and we'll get to Monday Night Raw and what that unfolded on Monday night. Alrighty, so let's get started with some Monday Night Raw talk. First off, Greg, no Cody Rhodes at all. So still got to wait to see what I'm reading is right now he's a stay-at-home dad. So I don't know about that. Hopefully that kind of gets sorted out. It seems like he'd be a bigger deal the night after Mania. Let him come back, get the heroes welcome, and kind of play off that. But even though there were a few spots I felt like I could have seen him, be involved in. But we'll see where he ends up showing up. So Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar were out there at first. So we're getting Brock Lesnar defending the title. I think that's next Saturday night at MSG.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it's Bobby Lashley because Lashley is out. I mean, well, we do know it's not him because he's out officially. They haven't written him off. They have not told. They told us he's in concussion protocol. He's getting shoulder surgery, so obviously he's out. So I don't know who the hell, Greg, is going to take Lashley's place. Do you know, with your sources, who is taking Lashley's place?
Not a clue. My sources are mum right now. It's interesting because I was as we watched Elimination Chamber and saw the incident where Lashley gets injured. Like it didn't look like much, and all of a sudden they're taking him out the match. So it was very curious, and it led for Brock getting an easy win out of the chamber. So it is curious to see who's going to come out of the woodwork.
I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, in a way.
No, but I was thinking, this could be a window for a big return. I mean, what if it was Cody right here? But you probably wouldn't want to have to waste that if he's just going to lose.
Yeah, that's what I've seen a lot of people throw that idea. Like, we'll just have Cody, and it's not even going to be televised. Like they're going to film, probably to show off on Monday night, but you're going to, I would hate to have Cody Rhodes in an unlive, appearance on a Saturday night at now granted, Madison Square Garden doesn't get any bigger. But at this point, I guess it doesn't, maybe you throw AJ Styles out there. I mean, him and Brock have pretty good chemistry.
True.
Seth and maybe you just do like Seth, Kevin Owens and a handicap, like we said, it doesn't really matter because we know Brock is heading to a room. Like Brock's not losing till then. I mean, this is
True.
just to kind of pop a little. I mean, I don't remember. I forget. I guess they haven't said. I mean, they haven't been to Madison Square Garden in a couple of years. Well, no, they did do a SmackDown there because I thought that's when Edge and Seth fought. So I guess they have been back, but in a way, yeah, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter, but yeah. Well, we'll see who they throw out there. I mean, Big Ben does have an idea. Throw Big E out there. I mean, I like that, but
Yeah.
we we see where Big E's position right now, unfortunately, and
Yep.
anyways. So, yeah. Well, how about Alpha Academy beat our boys, the Street Profits? I guess we're not worried about the Street Profits. I feel like they could still be in some multi-team match at WrestleMania because I feel like Raw and SmackDown are just going to throw tag teams in one match. Is that kind of what it feels like, Greg, right now? Just because, like on the SmackDown side of things, you had the Viking Raiders get taken out. We don't even get that match at Elimination Chamber. You have Big E and Kofi picking up wins. You have Sheamus and Ridge. And then on the Raw things, you have, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens picking up wins. You have RK Bro, who you could throw in there. I think we're going to get multi-team matches on both sides of the fence and it still makes me think, Greg, if you're going to unify the heavyweight titles, we might need some sort of unification of these tag titles.
Yeah, I agree. There's only a handful of good, real teams on both sides right now that we can really sink our teeth into and know that we're going to get a great match. There's a lot of average to below average teams out there that they're trying to put over as being a big deal, like the Dirty Dogs or the Los Lotharios of the world. And, we're not invested in those teams. And there's a lot of those teams like that. So a good multi-man match with, the proven teams in there would be the best. And maybe even throw make it a ladder match or make it can make one a TLC or something like that just to add some extra juice. Yeah. So that would make it better than just being a basic triple threat or four-way. So do something like that. It's WrestleMania, do it big.
Yeah. And then if you do it regular, I mean, I hate saying it, might as well be on the kickoff shows, because like you said, right now, I mean, there's tag teams buy-in, but it does feel it just feels a little limited right now. And like I said, if you're going to unify, because now they're going all in, like the heavyweight title or the the WWE Universal title, they said unification match. So now they can't. They booked themselves in that corner. You cannot tell us. You can't have it like the undisputed TNT title and wearing two belts. Like you better give us one title. And I've always loved the undisputed title look. So if they bring that back, Greg, I'm all in. So how about Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa picking up a win over the Dirty Dogs? It sounds like Ciampa might just kind of bounce back and forth. We brought this up, Greg. I'm fine with that. I think if if Ciampa doesn't necessarily want to go up main roster full time, why not let him bounce back and forth? It can, maybe Finn Balor goes back to NXT and gives that pop there. Cause I mean, he's always been the heart. He's one of my, I hate to use the term Mount Rushmore, but he's always been one of my Mount Rushmore of NXT. So pretty good win for them. And it's still, then we saw in NXT, Dolph Ziggler beat
Ciampa, but Robert Roode showed up, which I brought up all along, Greg. Like Robert Roode was one of those, big names in NXT, so it's cool to see him get a little shine down there. What about Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa picking up a win there?
Yeah, this made me very happy because I've been hashtagging justice for Finn.
Well, we also saw Finn involve
So-
something else later on in the night.
exactly, and it looks like he's finally getting his moment to come out of the disasters of the past. As soon as we saw Tommaso talking about needing a partner, I knew who he's going to be talking about, and sure enough, we got him, Finn Balor, looking like NXT Finn Balor. Great match, and finally, putting some respect on his name, putting him with Ciampa, and it's a good screen test for Ciampa as far as being on the main roster and seeing what type of love he gets from the audience. The audience was down for it. I was checking for the pop he got. He got really nice pop, especially after he got the win. And like I said, I'd be all for him being on both brands too, on NXT and on the main roster. But he's been long overdue for the main roster, maybe just because of his size or whatever. But the guy's a killer, and if you set him loose in the way he is now, he's going to be just fine. So, I believe this leads to him, finally putting Breaker over all the way. You have one more great match, and then he comes up and he's a member of Raw or SmackDown permanently. This is what I'd like to see because he deserves it. Uh, Meanwhile, Finn, I want him to have that title or send him back to NXT where he was a killer once he got down there. But we need a better Finn than what they've been giving us, starting from when he came back out of NXT into that disaster with Roman Reigns and the losing streak that he was on. So I like this, and I hope they keep it this way because this is what we have earned suffering through what they've done to Finn Balor lately.
Yeah, we can just go that route too. I think I want Finn to get that U.S. title. It's one title he hasn't held. He's got IC title. He's held a World Heavyweight title. He's held, well, not tag team, but NXT title. And I think it would, and it can still move up Damian Priest because I think we're ready for Damian Priest to be up away from the U.S. title, move up to that next level. Do we maybe pull the trigger next week, or do you think maybe you wait till WrestleMania? What do you think, Greg? Does Finn Balor get that U.S. title?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
And they owe him. They owe him so bad. This is long overdue for him, and so you already made a change the type or had the title change hands on SmackDown with the IC belt. And it's time to do the same thing on Raw. Here, Priest has had a good handful of months with the strap, and like I said, it's time to put him against some bigger players. I already have an idea of where he's going to turn up once we get to it in our recap. But since we were talking about it in forgot Atlantic Cat. The bag where it talked about the Edge and his open challenge.
Okay.
I was listening very close to that, and I heard a few. Just because I heard some Easter eggs in his promo, and it had me thinking of three names. First, when he was talking about, who he wants and, becoming immortal and everything. He mentioned the word phenomenal first, and like, oh, AJ Styles.
There you
I was
go.
expecting AJ Styles music to hit.
Yeah.
And then he kept going, and then he talked about if you want to make your name, you want to, and he said, make your name. Okay, maybe this is Austin Theory.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of his promo, he goes, wrestle me at WrestleMania, and you'll live forever. And what's been one of Damian Priest's taglines,
Yep.
live forever. And so that got me thinking of him. So if Finn wins the title from Priest, you can set Priest up against Edge, and you kind of have almost early Edge against late Edge, as far as they're the same size, they're the same type of character,
Brooding characters. Yeah.
right? And those two that I think could have a great match, and that would definitely elevate Damian Priest more than having the U.S. title. So
Yeah.
I would so for both of those reasons, I think this is why Finn Balor is going to beat Priest, and you can catapult Priest up into that big spot with Edge, so he kind of falls upwards. He doesn't lose anything by losing the title, and he becomes more of a player by doing so.
Well, like I said, and the U.S. title, the IC title, those used to be the stepping stone, and that's kind of lost that luster. Now it's time to make it right with Damian Priest. Move him up, see what he can do at the next level. And like you said, I think it's time. At least they've kind of gotten away a little bit from the like you said, the literal phrase it seemed like a little bit. So I think I'm still all in on AJ and Edge. But I mean, if he did a triple threat, that could be, I know it'd be different for Edge to do a triple threat at WrestleMania, but you have, he's turned into the Undertaker. Like we said, he wants to be the gatekeeper for WrestleMania. And I'm fine with that. I think we need somebody to be in that role. So the Miz and Logan Paul, the Mysterios. Okay.
No. What else you got?
It's funny that now, of course, the Miz did say what? I need a dashing. Somebody comes from a fighting family.
Yeah.
Oh, he also used smoke and mirrors. So
he did.
Cool that he was able to do that. How about, what I'm curious? Rhea Ripley defeating Nikki Ash and Bianca Belair defeating Doudrop. So I'm thinking, Greg, I don't know what Rhea's going to do at WrestleMania, but I almost want to give her Doudrop and kind of let them have at it. I just don't. I feel like they're kind of out in the outs. Like we already know Bianca's going against Becky, which will not main event, as they've already announced many a times that it's going to be Charlotte and Ronda. It is, it is what it is. And then Roman and Brock. I mean, we all knew this. This is never big breaking. It's breaking news, but it's not. But anyway, but you look at Rhea's WrestleMania path. I don't know where she fits. Do you? I mean, like I said, I threw out Doudrop, kind of two hosses going at it. I mean, I probably would put Doudrop over Rhea at WrestleMania just to give Doudrop that next level. I mean, we've already seen Rhea kind of stake her claim at WrestleMania, so I don't think she'd lose much. But both these women are still at that newish level, so it's. But that, I just can't see where else Rhea Ripley and even Doudrop, if they want her on Mania, where she fits in. So I kind of threw those matches together. So what about the women's picture, Greg, without the title involved?
Yeah, they both should be on the card. I'm bigger on Doudrop than I am on Rhea right now, just because they've done Rhea so dirty since she's come up. They can't decide if they wanted to be a heel or a babyface, and the storylines that have been easily written have been botched so badly, like the whole rematch with Charlotte. You could have done so much with that, and they didn't. And then the whole tag team with Nikki, and just one disaster after the other, and now she's just kind of there. And she's not special. Whereas on the other hand, you have Doudrop. She looks like a beast. She hasn't, even when she's losing matches, she's still getting over super strong. And she's more believable, more of a badass than Rhea is right now. So a match between those two would be awesome. But I do think there needs to be another multi-lady match with some stakes on it to to put the sizzle there. This is why I wish Money in the Bank wasn't a pay-per-view, because a Money in the Bank with the ladies that are out of the title picture at this WrestleMania would be awesome. But you can figure some match to put in there and put some stakes on it to where it would be fun to watch. It's going to take the rest of the time between now and WrestleMania to build the storyline and build the heat, build the animosity between the competitors. But I think that's what you're going to need is another themed match to put multiple ladies in there and give them some shine.
Yeah. And then finally, well, not finally, Dana Brooke won another 24/7 championship by making out with Reggie, because why not? And then Seth freaking Rollins and Kevin Owens defeated RK Bro. I'm still going to call it, Greg. I don't think we get RK Bro at WrestleMania. I think we got to get them, not against each other, sorry. I think the breakup happens after WrestleMania and kind of is your summer feud. I feel like it'd be a little rushed now. I don't know. I mean, I know there's still time, 30 some days away, but I'd rather let it kind of play out over the summer. I mean, especially since Backlash, what better way if Orton turns on Riddle, Backlash as a pay-per-view? I mean, that works perfectly. And then SummerSlam, maybe Riddle gets a big win over Orton at SummerSlam. But are you still in the camp of it will be Orton versus Riddle at WrestleMania, or do you think they team up still?
Looking at how it's been playing out the last few weeks, I think now we're cruising towards Seth and KO against RK Bro. And that's going to be the big match. That's going to be the title change. And then that's going to be the springboard for Randy and Riddle to break up. And then you top it off at SummerSlam instead of at Backlash.
Yeah.
You have a couple weeks afterwards where, the fracturing is happening, and then the turn, and then you have a few more weeks to build it, and then you have the next biggest pay-per-view at SummerSlam to pay it off. So we're going to pivot off them having their one-on-one match at WrestleMania to their one-on-one at SummerSlam.
And you have Money in the Bank, so maybe they're both in Money in the Bank. One costs the other. That's in July, so you got time. That's why I was like, I saw a lot of people in that camp of, they're going to have a singles match. And now, like you said, now that the timing has pushed it, I'm like, I just think it's not, I don't want to rush it, yes, it's there, but at the same time, I think you can have some layers to it. I mean, you could also have Riddle get tired of Orton, maybe saying he's never been on board. I mean, we could almost do that type of switch. So, so like I said, if they do a one-on-one at Backlash, I still think they play out through the summer. Maybe Orton gets the first win, and then Riddle gets it back or whatever. So, so that's Raw in a nutshell. Next up, let's talk some NXT. So, we had it was all about Ciampa, Ziggler, Robert Roode, and Braun Breaker. We'll kind of do the bookend. So we did have Dolph Ziggler confront Braun Breaker. I'll be interested. I think this does happen on TV at some point. We did have Ziggler beat Ciampa at the end, but we saw Bob Roode, Big Bob, involved with that, which I kept saying, Greg, I don't know why he's not involved anyway. It's NXT. And
right.
Then you had Braun Breaker involved. So I think, are we getting well, we've already had a tag match, but I'm sure we'll get, maybe another tag match. Maybe there's the stakes of whoever pins Braun Breaker gets the title match or something like that. So maybe you could have, Ziggler get the pin somehow, and then, you can do a TV match. So any thoughts on, kind of the title picture there for NXT, Greg?
Yeah, look, it's I like the way they're doing it with, Ziggler and just coming out to work, and, there's one banger of a match you can have right there. Ciampa's still lurking, the friend of my enemy is my friend kind of thing, but he's still waiting to get his shot.
Mhm.
And it's just where do you pay these off? I mean, I think Ziggler is going to be another good move to get Breaker some more street cred.
Mhm.
We've seen him beat Ciampa already, and their rubber match is looming. That's going to be the big match we're waiting for. But this is another way for him to prove himself before he gets to the big trilogy match with Ciampa.
Mhm.
So I agree that it's going to happen on TV within the next couple weeks, and then we're going to get the Ciampa match at Vengeance Day, the Saturday of WrestleMania.
Mhm. Yeah. How about your boy Greg took a nail to Grayson Waller, but we had Sanji or Senga involved. I still don't know where this is going. Like you feel like like we said, I think you got to put some sort of loser leaves title to it. We haven't had one of those in a while. At the next NXT takeover, I think that's where you do it. Is that where you're seeing it too?
Yes, I'm fine with them taking L's right now, just
Mhm.
because they're going to keep developing the storyline. As you could see, even though he lost the match, by getting the trunks pulled,
Mhm.
everybody saw it. They made sure to, show that. But it's going to keep the storyline going, and when he gets his wins, it's going to be an even bigger deal. But it's going to lead to a big blow off, I think, at Vengeance Day with him and Waller. And I agree, it should be a loser leaves town type match, and that you're going to be able to catapult LA Knight up to the main roster, which I can't wait for.
Mhm.
And it's another foe vanquish for the evil Grayson Waller. Uh, even if it's by cheating, that's even going to be better for him because that's more heat, and whoever takes him out at the end of it is going to be made the guy right off the bat. So yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. Is that we get a loser leaves, which isn't done often, and definitely not done often in NXT, but it's a means to an end, a perfect means to an end here. Um, LA Knight, the veteran, can put over Waller,
Mhm.
go up to main roster, and then Waller can, keep on his role of, taking out the favorites before somebody finally gets him.
I was actually going to say, I wonder if Waller is North American champion by the end of the year, kind of going into next year. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I know Carmelo is
Mm,
a heel guy too, but Waller's a little bit more heelish. So, you know, I don't think he's NXT. Because then that gives Waller like next year to really build up that North American championship for himself. So,
true, and that's the only problem with it is with Carmelo being heel also,
mhm.
who's everybody going to root for?
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
Carmelo is more likable
Yeah, that's
than
what I
Waller,
was. Yeah.
so I can see people, getting behind him,
Mhm.
especially against Waller, who's still the biggest heel on NXT.
Mhm.
Uh, but are they going to deliver a classic? I don't know.
And that's the thing. I
I'd,
don't know
I'd
how
be
they
interested in
face
seeing it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the Dusty Classic for the women's side. Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray. No surprise there. I'm probably not even that surprised by Casey and Caden winning, Greg. I feel like they'll be that upstart team that they do lose. I don't know. I guess I'm still mixed about them. Like they could go either way. They could lose the next round, or they could go the finals. Casey and Caden somehow. I just feel like NXT kind of believes in them. It's like they don't all the way believe in them because they haven't won the titles yet, but they still keep giving them shots and they still kind of keep pushing them on TV. Probably too early for Ivy Nile in her, well, she took out her partner anyway. So that shows us that Ivy Nile's all about herself, which is fine. And Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray. that maybe that could implode down the road. But thoughts on the women's side of things for the Dusty Classic, Greg?
Uh, there's not much that I believe in with the women's side of it. It's a bunch of random tag teams thrown together. Um, and, you got Raquel and Cora as the favorites, followed by Io and Kaylee Ray, who really don't make sense as a team. Um, so I'm calling my shot, and I'm putting my money on Casey and Caden. They've really come together. They've been teaming together for a long time, and they're finally looking good as a tag team as far as their tandem offense. Their finisher that they used on the this show was really good looking on camera. I believe it was Caden that did the slam, and then Casey came off the top rope with what was it, like a 450 or something like that.
Yeah.
It looked amazing. So you got some tandem offense like that, and the way they move, just their chemistry on screen is awesome. So I'm calling for the biggest upset with them winning the whole Dusty.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if they won, and it wouldn't surprise me if they lose the next. Like it's like you said, they're kind of either all in. They're not all in. They're just like, well, we'll just see what they can do. Some other things. Duke Hudson defeated Dante Chin. Duke Hudson is slowly building his name up. Pete Dunne next up for Carmelo Hayes. Cameron Grimes defeated Trick Williams. But, Greg, let's get to this real quick. Nikita Lyons is officially the most chipped pin ever. I don't know if that's official, but and then how about Big E hitting the same pin yesterday on whichever Los Lothario? But that pin of Nikita will be forever etched in everybody's brain. I even saw women tweeting it out, so it's a good pin when that's happening. But not much else. Not much else really intrigued me about her yet.
Hey, Nikita Lyons, how you doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, just saying, she looked good. The match was okay, but she looked great.
Is she going to hit that pin every time now?
Well,
She almost have to if it's your thing now.
yeah, she's got to. She got to get that over. And
somebody called her Shakishi.
That's awesome.
Is she going to add the stink face? I mean,
well, I know a lot of people would volunteer to take it. So.
that might be an OnlyFans. Didn't Wade Bear bring up OnlyFans as well? I guess I wasn't listening heavy.
He did mention it.
Who?
I forgot who he was talking about though.
Yeah, I just thought, I was like, really? But anyways, yeah, Nikita. I mean, and her gimmick is still like, it's just a weird, like, she's like, well, I was on the road with my mom and dad who were rock stars, and I'm tough, and I'm like, what is that? I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Most rock stars have a pretty nice bus or have a van. I don't think it's just like, it's not like this garage or this gang warfare for rock stars to go out and do stuff. But yeah. And then how about Solo get involved with the Creed brothers and even the odds with Imperium? I'm all for Solo and Gunther to go at it. Greg, how about you?
Absolutely. Talk about a house fight. There you go. But we're all dying to just wait to see him become the third Uso. But in the meantime, right? In the meantime, a match against Gunta, and even I think it was either Wade or Vic that called him Walter. So even the announce team is still not used to it yet. But yeah, I'm here for that fight. So let's get that. Have a banger match with those two, and
call up Solo.
Yep, get him up there because he's going to look great as the third Uso.
Like you said, especially if he can help. Maybe he's if Usos are barred, he helps Roman, or maybe he helps the Usos win the match. So, um,
Hmm.
I feel like it's coming after WrestleMania. I think it's, I hate saying it's time already for him, but why not? Because you don't have to have him wrestle necessarily right away either. I mean, you can
Well,
have him just kind of do run-ins, or be on the side, and then if you think he's ready, you put him in there. So,
depending on who's or when Xavier Woods is back,
hmm
you know,
New Day and
I don't know what the
Usos trios,
right, and then you unveil him as the surprise third
third man.
Uso.
Hmm
Where it looks like it's going to be the Usos and Roman Reigns, and then you get, or
Solo.
maybe a different random partner, and then you
Hmm
get Solo in his place, and then you're big pop. So
If they announce it's a mystery partner, it has to be him, right? I mean, it's like,
right,
what else? Especially, well, even if you're doing, what if you're doing guys just bouncing back and forth? Why not have him do a couple months of both, and then if he's, then you call him up officially. Even if you don't do it after Mania or whatever. So, yeah, I think he's ready, and I think I'm sure they want him.
oh
If we
absolutely.
can,
There needs
if
to
we
be a
can't,
big unveil for him though. There needs to
yeah,
be a
well,
big
that's true.
reveal.
Yeah, if we're not gonna get Naomi in there, Greg, then give me Solo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then like I said, we brought up Tommaso Ciampa getting defeated by Ziggler. I don't, just a nice win for Ziggler. I don't remember the last time Ziggler's got a win in singles competition, Greg. So I'm sure it's been a while. So that was NXT, though. I thought we also saw Andre Chase do a little, him and Von Wagner. Eh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that'll lead to a match somewhere, but we
and
don't care.
yeah, yeah, Von Wagner. He's got size, and that's about it. But all right, SmackDown side of things. uh, we just got it started right off the bat. Ronda was out there with Michael Cole. Charlotte was out there. We saw Sonya Deville attack her. We're going to get Ronda and Sonya, Greg, at this week's SmackDown, or next week, sorry, in Miami. I thought they said Miami. Um, are we going to do the one arm behind the back again for Ronda, or are we just going to make it a straight up match?
Nope, this one will be a straight up match because this was kind of a, you know, you stuck your nose where you didn't belong. Now this is your punishment kind of thing.
Yeah.
So um, this is going to be a straight up match. And I think Sonya's going to,
Try
end
to
up
win
with her arm
somehow.
back in the sling.
Yeah.
Right. She's going to try to weasel out of it. She's going to get caught and she's going to end up in the arm bar. And Charlotte's going to be standing on the ramp watching while she twists Sonya's
Taps.
arm out of the socket. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's where that's going. But I like them doing an interview segment with Rhonda, with Michael Cole, because
He
it's
can
clear
guide
Rhonda
her.
isn't good enough
Yeah.
uh, delivering promo by herself. So it was a good touch to get the point across and make her look more babyface like.
Yeah, she needs to be out there with like some, her and Charlotte. I mean, I don't think she's ever been good by herself. I mean, it feels like she's always had to be kind of heavy on the other person in the ring. So, um,
Hmm.
but that's not who she's not a promo. I mean, it's okay not to be, but you got to figure out how to work through that. So, Big E and Kofi defeated Los Lotharios. Like we said, this should be the end of that because it didn't look like Ridge and Sheamus. It's almost like Mortal Kombat style effect. They're just moving up in
Yeah.
the tower. I think Ridge and Sheamus should be a good match for them. I still feel like it's probably going to be Viking Raiders, Usos, Big E and Kofi, and Ridge and Sheamus all at WrestleMania for the titles.
Yeah, it should be. Um, like I say, it's a shallow tag team division, but you got the New Day and the Usos there to anchor it. So
Mhm.
no matter who else you throw in there, you're still going to get a great match. So I like Sheamus and Ridge, their potential. I mean, it was you that brought up throwing Cesaro in there and having a better version of the bar, but that's not going to happen.
Do they win the tag titles, do you think, at Mania?
Sheamus and Ridge,
Yeah.
I
I feel
wouldn't
like
hate
it's
it, but I think it's unlikely.
yeah, I mean they still got the Uso. And especially if Roman wins, they gotta have all the gold. All the gold. So Xia Li, what do we think about her debut? I like the little kick at the end. I mean,
Yes.
she almost hit it. She almost fell back. She did fall backwards on it. So obviously she was a little too into it. But the gimmick is still
I know
it's a
that
little
they
too
need to stop with
cartoon.
the Raiden thing,
I was gonna
and
say it
then
feels
the
too cartoony for me.
yeah, well, the whole windmilling thing before she throws the kick was
Yeah,
I see what
almost
they're
like
trying to
Street
do right
Fighter.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat character.
but that wasn't necessary. I mean, look at Aleister Black, where he used to throw black mass. You set it up, you hit it, game
Hit it.
over. I
Yep.
mean, you don't need all the weirdness beforehand. So,
Yeah.
maybe this was the screen test to see how it looks. The kick, yes, keep it. The whole windmilling thing before you do it, no.
Mhm.
But
Well, it's always like I
good
always hated.
debut.
I always hated Natalia's like how she turns around before her clothesline. I'm like, does that even give it any? Like, it never felt like it gave it extra I mean, so like her discus clothesline they call it. I'm like, you're not JBL, you're not Brody Lee, like, you know, but and we're getting it, Greg. Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville, 1-on-1 at WrestleMania. We are getting Ricochet in the meantime, though. I'm okay with that. I think Ricochet needs to, be involved in bigger things time to time. So, I like the idea that Ricochet's, going to go in Sami Zayn. I'm sure it'll be a good 20-minute, especially on SmackDown. He might actually get time to, show off, but and then Sami Zayn in Knoxville, it is what it is. I mean, we've seen it coming from since Royal Rumble. Just do it, move on, and then let Sami Zayn do what he's going to do.
Yeah, I'd like it more if it was the other way around and we were getting Knoxville now and Ricochet at WrestleMania because the potential for having a WrestleMania caliber match. But
Yeah.
now we're just talking about a kind of a comedy match.
Mm-hmm.
And another reason I don't like it is because you got one match involving Johnny Knoxville and another match involving Logan Paul. So, um, that's too much Hollywood in one show as far as being in legit matches. Um,
At least they should
the,
spread them
the,
out. Like, don't put them on the same night.
true, true. And, I give Johnny Knoxville more credit than, remember last week we talked about the embarrassments of
Mm-hmm.
of yesteryear, and my number one was David Arquette. But at least
Mm-hmm.
you know that Johnny Knoxville can take a bump.
Took a
From
few.
watching all this stuff, he takes
Yeah.
bumps, he takes bites, he takes um, you
Shocks.
know
Paintballs.
numerous numerous projectiles to the face. Um, so he's not going to be afraid of contact. So I guess at least there's that. But
And at least they've
um,
had some story to it. You had the Sami Zayn crash the if it would have just been
yeah,
like no other stuff involved, I probably wouldn't have been against it. But at least, we had, like I said, you had Sami Zayn crashing Knoxville stuff. Even
mhm,
still sneaking in. Then you had Knoxville crashing the party last time, which we kind of all saw coming. But
yeah,
I guess I was surprised that Sammy got as much as the upper hand as he did.
yeah. I mean, they have put a lot of time and thought into it. So
I feel like
you know,
Knoxville needs to get the upper hand because there's no way Knoxville's winning the
right?
IC title at WrestleMania. I mean, if they do that, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
Sami Zayn needs to release whatever video is hiding. So all that reciting, he'd be like, but anyway. So speaking of guys that probably are headed for a low caliber WrestleMania match. My man, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Insert pause because the 40 is on ice, Greg, over here at my house
I
for Drew
agree.
McIntyre's WrestleMania match. My
Yep,
only
my
thought was if it was going to be a tag team, I'm like, please God, give him Cody. At least give him that. But now I'm thinking that won't even happen. I mean, or just give him the handicap and let him kill both of them. Like, I mean, that, yeah.
yeah. Well, first, I guess we're first of all we're glad Madcap isn't dead
Yeah, yeah,
because that bump he took it the chamber was ridiculous. I mean,
yeah. The neck was
I'm
not made to
surprised.
do that.
No, I thought they were going to be throwing up the X for sure. I was waiting for it, and the fact that dude got up and finished the match, you know, was amazing because
Mhm.
there was no cushioning that blow. It was straight on his head and neck, and
Mhm.
his arms were not down, his hands were not down. That was straight head first, and I think the whole crowd gasped when they saw that. So.
Mhm.
Um, it's a great thing that he is so muscled and so um, hulkish as it is, because I think that's the only thing that probably saved his life. A smaller man would have his neck broken. Um, so happy that Madcap's okay, but we've burned the candle out with him versus Drew, and now it's time for the one-on-one match to blow off. And sorry, Drew, the 40s in the chiller, waiting for this match to kick off.
Or give him money in the bank. Like, he needs something after this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And he probably would cash it in right away because he doesn't need to hold it for, you know what I mean? Like,
True.
like there's some guys that we know aren't ready and need to, they use it as a means to another direction. But with Drew, you know, if he's the money in the bank, like, or cashing at a big like SummerSlam or something and let him after all this, Baron Corbin and Madcap Moss stuff, because whoo.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
he's still due a big reward for his pandemic performance. So, SummerSlam matchup against Brock or Roman would be big.
and it is in Nashville where he lives, so that'd be kind of cool to see him get. I believe he currently resides there. Him and Sheamus live there, and Miro. So there you go. Got some international love in Nashville.
apparently, yeah.
But Sasha Banks defeated Shotzi. Well, Greg, not quite Shotzi's 40 on ice yet, but I think Shotzi's going to have to like do a little. And I feel bad because she just lost her dad like that. Like, what a way to come back and get squashed by Sasha. But on the other end, Greg, Sasha and Naomi teaming up, so that takes out my idea that I was hoping for Sasha and Bailey against Lita and Trish. What about reforming Team Bad? Well, 2/3 of Team Bad. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts? I'll let you go first because I don't know yet. I need to talk
Yeah.
through my thoughts.
No, I love it with Naomi and Sasha getting together, joining forces, especially after that banger of a match that Naomi had with Charlotte. And I think that's one of those things that, the front office, Vince, and, everybody in the towers watching go, wow, okay, we forgot she could do this. So let's give her, a bigger spotlight. And now she's getting pivoted out of the Sonya Deville role into a bigger role with, Sasha. And it also kind of an indicator for where Bailey is.
Not ready
If they're
for
doing this
WrestleMania.
now, yeah, she's not close. So, um, reforming Team Bad, like you said, and going for a run with against Carmella and Zelina, love it. And add some depth to a very shallow women's tag team scene. So yeah, absolutely, let's do that. Sasha can't get involved into the title matches at WrestleMania this year, so this is the next best thing.
Yeah, it does make you wonder about Bailey. Like, I mean, I see her; she's always working out and working on that knee. But once again, would it be? Is it a bigger deal to come back? Like we keep talking about the night after WrestleMania, especially on Raw side of things. I think Bailey would be a nice, big force on there. So hopefully Bailey's ready at least the night after Mania to kind of show back up and like I said, get involved on the Raw side of things.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, Brock Lesnar laid waste to all of the security guards. Nothing beats Greg, the one security guard that was like this. And I'm like, what is he doing? Come on, man. And then Brock using the table. I mean, like, does it get any better than Brock using something? Like, let's give him Angela. Let him lay waste with some. So, I don't think there's. I'm 99.9% sure it's going to be Roman walking out with both titles, though, and becoming the undisputed champion. Just seems like it makes more sense.
I don't know about that.
But it's still Brock.
It's exactly it's Brock. You can't bet against Brock, and we figured Roman's got the upper hand in both of their matches by hook or crook so far. So Brock is due.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a true unification. So that was what I've been waiting for, is that, it's not going to be, title versus title just insinuates you get the two champions going against each other with no repercussions. But the fact they threw unification in there finally, this is what we were talking about. It only makes sense.
Finish.
Right.
Can you imagine WrestleMania, the main event, and they just give us a weird double pin, or they have to do a legit finish.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
Have that one champion come out of it.
There'll be a little shenanigan in there with Paul, but I think if you don't give us a clean finish, as clean as you can get with these three characters in there, yeah, they're going to tear Dre World down, because this is what we've been waiting for. So I'm not sold on Roman winning this match. There's plenty of time for a champ and then a rematch and so on and so forth. So you're not getting me betting against Team Brock yet.
Of course, Brock has held that undisputed title back in the day, and he looks good with it. So
that's right.
But and if they do, I would love for them to bring that thing back, because I've always loved that title. It's pretty simple looking, and I know everybody's all about the wing dinkle and the like the Attitude Era one, but man, that undisputed one was pretty sleek. So
yeah. My vote is for Ric Flair's 10 pounds of gold, because that is a championship belt. Yeah, the one that's like a giant belt buckle almost. It's
Brock won't need a belt buckle if he wears that.
Right. That was the cool belt buckle he was wearing with his logo on it. But the original 10 pounds of gold from Ric Flair's Four Horsemen days, use that instead of the two WWE logo belts. I think that would be my vote. But I think they would come up with some specially designed belt to
that could be
represent the unified. Maybe it's red and blue or something, but something to distinguish from the other two.
Purple. A purple cruiserweight belt.
What do you get when you mix red and blue?
Purple.
Purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when they brought that cruiserweight. I was like, ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that.
No wonder why Neville didn't want. No wonder why Pac didn't want to hold on to that thing. Enzo loved it though, but whatever. So, all right, well, let's get in another commercial break. We got Elite Performance happening for us, because if you want to be elite, you got to get to Elite Performance. I believe they have, like I said, their weightlifting competition coming up actually in March, which it's hard to believe, Greg. March is Tuesday. Where did February go? I do not know. So we're heading into spring and my favorite time of the year. It actually gets warm and nice outside. So go to Elite Performance for all your elite needs. All right, and we are into AEW news, so let's get some AEW talk going on. Red Dragon won the tag team battle royal. Sorry. We had John Silver, Matt Jackson,
FTR,
and who?
FTR,
Dax left as like the final four, correct?
Yeah.
Because they kind of. I think I do like that type of idea that it's not the. If you're out, you're out the whole tag team. It's nope. It's the other guy still left. So that's kind of a nice way to do it. But probably not surprising that Red Dragon won. Now we'll get another tag team battle royale right next week, and that'll be the third team against Red Dragon and Jurassic Express. I would assume the Young Bucks win next week, Craig.
Yep, agreed. They're putting too much time into the Rift to not put the Young Bucks in there.
And I guess it makes you believe that maybe Jurassic Express somehow sneak out the win against both of them, because in that way one doesn't get over the other yet. But I think that'll be fun to see Red Dragon and Young Bucks go one-on-one, or go tag team against tag team, 2-on-2 down the road. And, maybe that's a number one contender style match. So how about the MJF promo? Are we supposed to be sympathetic for him, or is this all a ruse?
Yeah, it was hard not to be sympathetic for him at the end of that promo, because we didn't get talked about it last week, but this was on the heels of CM Punk, taking his pipe bomb pose in the middle of the ring, and this is the day after Valentine's Day, asking MJF to be his Valentine, meaning be the second dog collar match in AEW history. You want to be Piper in Portland, this is how we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And, why don't you be my Valentine, meaning, the most infamous match of Roddy Piper's career being the dog collar match with him and Greg the Hammer Valentine. And so he's pretty much saying, I'll be Piper and you be Valentine, and let's have this match. Mm-hmm. And he dissed on him by pulling out the old school pic of Punk and young MJF. Looks like it was about 10 years old, 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And dissing on him by saying that for you, this is the biggest moment of your life. For me, this was another Friday. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to this past Dynamite, MJF comes out, responds to it, and talks about how he's always bullied and disrespected and called Jew boy and all the things. And you're sitting, you're listening to it, and you're feeling what he's saying, and you're just kind of waiting. Okay, where's the punchline? When's it coming? And he's going on, and right, and he's dropping all this knowledge about young MJF and college MJF and believing himself and being all these things. And you by the end you kind of felt for him. It's like, man, this guy is good. He's like the most evil person in all of wrestling, and he's making us feel for him. And there was no punchline at the end. I was waiting for the haha, I got you, you're all marks and da da da. But he didn't do that. By the end of the promo, he's crying. And Punk comes out, no music, and stands in front of him and asks him without a mic in his hand, he goes, "Is that true?"
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't answer him and he just leaves the ring. Very un MJF like not to have a response or a snarky, better than you response. So it was very cutting. It was very, you felt what he was saying, and at the end of it, you can't help not to feel for him. So to have skills like that, game like that, I was like props to MJF because that was awesome. And he left Punk standing in the room in the middle of the ring looking stupid. So it was an interesting twist. I'm like, okay, what are you doing with this? Are they
Now it
trying
makes
to?
me think MJF's going to get the win.
Yeah, are you trying to do a double switch or a double turn where all of a sudden MJF becomes a favorite and Punk becomes the heel? I mean, it's
no. I think now I know we have predictions next week, but what you could do is Punk has a chance to just totally put him away, and has that second thought, and you either do MJF with the roll up or MJF with a low blow. I think MJF goes 2-0 on Punk, and then they're done. Like they're done for the time being. You can't. I guess you can get another match out of it, but at the same time, they probably need to be done if MJF is up 2-0 in it.
yeah.
So, because he
What
was
did you think of that promo? How'd you feel about it?
I mean, and that, like you said, I kept waiting for the punchline, and I just now that I think more about it, it's like, and what's funny is it's real. Like people screenshotted some Facebook post from MJF about getting hit after trying out for football and making it, and football players saying, "Well, you don't belong here," and so you feel for you do feel for him, and he's never given us that yet. And like you said, it's gonna be interesting what they do this week.
Yeah.
Like, do you probably have Punk come out and give a little spiel, and maybe MJF just doesn't come out, and you wait for them. Then we get the match on Sunday night. That's probably how I would book it. Maybe Punk tries to call him out, or MJF comes out and doesn't say anything and leaves. That type of booking. So, but I do think we're getting the real MJF. I know you got too much stock in MJF as a heel, and to get two wins over CM Punk, because you could still make Punk maybe have an edge and be like, okay, I'm not going to fall for that or whatever. I know he probably looks stupid again, but I think the bigger deal is MJF going up 2-0 because he was 2-0 against Jericho, right, as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So MJF being 2-0 against Jericho and Punk, I mean, what more? He could just retire and be like, I'm good, I'm retiring at 25, or whatever. But yeah, you do feel like it was interesting to see him really break down that fourth wall in a way and give us real life stuff, and then CM Punk's way of, like you said, no music, just coming out there and be like, is that true? Is that true? And just being stood at the altar, being stood up at, no answer. But yeah. So, and the dog car match, like I said, I feel like since Punk is calling for it, like we always think, the person who ever calls for the match, Greg, never usually doesn't win. So yeah, I think we're gonna get Punk, or we're gonna get MJF up 2-0 on him. So, speaking of debuts, we saw Buddy Matthews. Sorry, I started to say Buddy Murphy. I've been called for this for a while, Greg, and he finally shows up.
Yep.
Him and Aleister Black must be pretty good friends for them to keep aligning themselves. I never really see anything about that, but the lights went out. Buddy Matthews is there. Late, we think he might lay out Malachi Black, but he ends up taking out Pac or Pentagon, whichever one he did. And what about Alex being some weird looking Pope like feature, or he's changing up his look a little bit. So we're just waiting on Phoenix to get back so we could have a good old trios match. But what do you think about the match there? And what about
Buddy Matthews in AEW.
I like it. When he first came out, I thought this was going to be going against him because thinking back to those matches that they had on Raw, they were awesome matches and they were so good. They ended up being like a trilogy of matches. But when he went up against then Aleister Black on Raw, those matches were 5-star bangers. And so obviously great chemistry in the ring. And once he came out, and big reveal. And then there's another thing. Can we stop with the whole blackout thing? There too many people are getting the blackout treatment. I mean, it's better to do the hooded.
1 week, like I still think they wanted Brody King to debut that 1 week, and then you had the Ray Phoenix injury, so you had to call it audible. But yeah, there, like you said, there needs to be no more. I mean, or if you're going to do it, it has to be somebody. It can't just be. It can't just be a blackout.
Buddy Matthews.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but it makes sense because we kept thinking he'd probably align himself with somebody because nobody shows up on their own anymore.
Right. So I like the reveal. I mean, he doesn't deserve the whole blackout thing. They need to stop doing the blackout stuff as much.
Yeah.
But anyway, the fact that he aligned with the House of Black is not a surprise, even though I expected him to go the other way. Once he put himself between Pac and Malachi, then it kind of saw it. Okay, here comes the cheap shot, and so it's a formidable trio now, and I love Penta's new packaging. I mentioned to you on the last show once he showed or 2 weeks ago when they went to the graveyard, pulled out the old Lucha Underground mask and had the whole new entrance, which I thought was pretty awesome. I'll be honest, I thought it was Vampiro that came out with him because
I couldn't tell what Alex until he showed his face. I was like, oh, he had pretty good makeup on to look like a creepy mortician or something. I don't know what he was going for. Or like
he was doing the whole pale face thing.
Yeah,
looks
like
a
Ghost the band. That's what I kind of thought of. If you know that kind of heavy or darker band, I've not listened to them, but I keep hearing about them. So I thought that was pretty interesting way to go for Alex. Give him something different to do too.
Yeah, and repackaged Pentagon loved it. And they did a good job putting over the gimmick by saying, this was him going back into his dark side, which is him pulling out the mask he thought was buried forever, and back to his kind of darker roots. So love that. The whole entrance was pretty fire. He didn't get to do much in the match as far as showcasing, what is more darker side to do. But I'm sure that's to come. But
could Phoenix pick back sooner than we think too? I mean, if you're having House of Black with 3 members, I don't know what they said he was out for though.
Well, it's dislocated elbow from what I heard. So and it's been.
I'm trying to think of
what a month. I would say about a little over a month ago, maybe.
Okay, so probably still a little bit away. I mean,
yeah. So, but probably not too far.
Or maybe wrestle with some sort of padding on it and just watch it. I don't, Yeah, I couldn't remember what they said. I thought it was a leg, and I was like, well, legs are always legs are never a good. That's out months.
Yeah,
mostly. But if it's his elbow,
I like the new name, Penta Obscuro instead of El Cerro Mero. It sounds better.
We just need to call him Penta, and one of those times, Greg, that we need to shorten somebody's name. I know people get mad like when we shorten people's names, but sometimes you need to. So that's
Yeah.
why that's the WWE faith and our fandom in me talking about. So, what about Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston? A good back and forth. I thought Eddie came out bigger in it, obviously, and that's the plan.
Yeah.
I thought Jericho was grasping it. I don't know. It didn't seem like Jericho really was confident what he was like. I don't know, trying too hard or I don't know. It just didn't come out as like Jericho. And then, of course, sorry, Eddie had the line of the night. Give me the Jericho that Levesque hated or whatever. And I don't
Yeah.
really know what. I mean, I get it. I'm sure they butted heads a lot, but so that should be interesting. I like, and I've heard him want to bring back the Painmaker, so you do wonder if it might bring that back to kind of, bring his character a different side of things. But I don't know. What did you think about Jericho? I just thought Jericho seemed a little off with it, like almost trying too hard. And
Yeah, I
was it
agree.
too much insidey terms? Like, how do we feel about that stuff? Because a lot of casual fans don't know these terms. Do you think that it? I don't know. What do you think
Yeah.
about the use of that?
Well, I think Jericho's slowly going back to his more heel side. Uh, just painting him as a loser. You always be a loser. You can't win the big one. Um, kind of thing. That's the type of things a heel would say. And I do think he lost the exchange as far as um, the back and forth goes. Eddie really hit home with some of the stuff about, you know, we're not doing sports entertainment here. And,
Mm-hmm.
he, when Eddie Kingston talks, you feel the real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can tell the big difference between how these two speak when
Approach
they're on
it.
the stick. It's a night and day. And just everything he said was, deep burns every time. So, and the crowd was feeling him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jericho kind of leaned into it and just played onto you can't win the big one. You'll never be on my level. All stuff heels would say. So I think this is going to end up Jericho pivoting into being more of a heel. And, by Kingston said, give me old Jericho. Give me the one Levesque hated, the one that uh, shook things up in WCW, which was another great line.
Mm-hmm.
Turned up WCW upside down, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
Um, he's going back to give me Lionheart, give me,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that debuted in Chicago against The Rock, that guy.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's where it's going. Is that
Mm-hmm.
we're getting Jericho going back into being his kind of heel mode,
Mm-hmm.
and
Turn back the
that's
clock.
exactly. So, like I said, current Jericho is gonna get destroyed. So
Give me small ponytail, top ponytail, or
yeah,
top
the top
bun,
knot.
top knot. Sorry, Jericho.
Yeah.
Um, I would think, and like you said, I mean, this is one that I'm like Eddie Kingston has to go over. Like,
Hmm.
but we got a pretty solid Revolution ready to go next week. Like, we'll get into the main event there in just a second. But we did have Ricky Stark defeated Vance to etch his name into the face of the Revolution qualifying match. I'll be honest, Greg. I would like to see Vance pick up the upset win. I don't think Ricky needs in there. He's got FTW. Well, he has Team Taz. I thought, especially with the Hosses in there.
Yeah.
Now we do have Orange Cassidy after last night. We have, Ricky Starks. We have Keith Lee, Lance
Workload.
Archer, and
Hmm.
Wardlow. Is there 6 people going to be in it or 5? I can't remember.
I think there's 6.
So we'll have one more probably match, like a last spot maybe, because right now there's 5. So maybe they'll do another high flyer type. But I would like to see Vance pick up the upset.
Were you in that camp at all?
Uh, I was fine either way. I'm not really invested in 10, even though I saw that putting him in there, you'll have the opposite of what we usually get in
Yeah.
these ladder matches, which is a
Like a lot
bunch
of
of
tosses.
skinny, 150-pound guys instead of you have a match full of hosses, like you said, and that would have been an interesting, turn from the usual, but um, you still pretty much have that because half the field is going to be the
That's true.
hosses.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Keith Lee, Lance Archer, Wardlow, uh, Hobbs. Is Hobbs in it? I think Hobbs is in it.
No, I think Starks got
No.
in it.
Okay.
I think might go against. Remember, Hobbs and Keith Lee kind of had the backstage segment.
No, Hobbs beat Dante Martin.
Oh, he did. So he's in it. Oh, so there's our
So,
six.
so you do have four. You have four horses
Okay.
in there.
Okay. And with Orange Cassidy and Ricky Starks. Okay. Then I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you would have done if you would have done Vance winning and then Orange Cassidy, yeah, that would have been a little.
That would have looked funny. Yeah.
Orange Cassidy probably would have won, but whatever. So yeah, I guess I just would like to see Vance. He's a guy that I feel like they're like we're going to give you a little something and see where you could go, but we're not going to give you all of it like that push
Yeah.
and start. But well, speaking of Brian Cage, by the way, starting talk about starting and stopping. But anyway, so Jade picks up a win. Greg. No surprise there. 28-0, 27-0, whatever it is.
You know what?
Sorry, go ahead.
And I don't know if you saw this during that match, but Jade really lost that match. There was a spot near the end of the match where she, who was Jade wrestling? Bunny, yeah.
Bunny, yeah.
She hit a move right next to the ropes, went for the pin. Aubrey counts 1, 2, and then she stops before she hit 3, and then Jade threw her shoulder up.
Yeah,
she was way off.
I forgot, yeah.
So I was like, I rewound it 3 times and watched it just to make sure. But yeah, she missed it. She missed the kick out.
I'll throw it on the bunny because the bunny's like, oh, you're going to see a whole nother side of me. And we didn't, did we?
I don't know. I'm saying Bunny should have been the champ, but because Jade totally missed it by a mile. And you go back and rewatch it.
And that happened, I know.
Yeah, but it was very, very, very obvious.
That'll be on Botchamania.
Yep.
For those of you who watch that, so yeah. But
Aubrey stops, and then Jade's shoulder comes up like 2 seconds later.
It's like sometimes when the referee almost has to help them, get their. Well, the best is the old school days, Greg, when they do the checking if they submit it. Remember, sometimes a ref would hold their hand up in the middle of the air and be like, "Okay," and their hand would, Always Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was always the big guy. I remember that one. I guess, and like I said, I saw it because it was the longest 2 3/4 count ever, 2.9999. But, I just,
she could have counted to 4, is what I'm saying.
Probably 10. Anyways, so, what about Bryan Danielson, Garcia? I mean, it wasn't a bad match. It felt like they didn't have, he brought the violence out of Garcia here and there. Obviously, we're all about Moxley and Bryan Danielson, and I think they're going to team up. I feel like you're going to get the handshake at the end of their Revolution match, and that's really all that matters in that storyline. Garcia was just kind of there, as the next person up because that's who Bryan mentioned who he wanted to wrestle. So the match wasn't bad, but it wasn't. It felt like it never found its footing to my mind. It was kind of going through some motions and trying to pick up here and there, but maybe I just didn't see it maybe I didn't see it in the right way. Greg, what about you?
Nope, I agree with you. Is that it was an okay match. It was fine to kind of.
Maybe do you think we put too much hype into? I don't feel like we did, but
No, I mean nobody expected Garcia to win or anything, but
no, of course not.
as far as being, more violent like Danielson wanted, he showed some things, and it was a good match. I mean, but that's what you're gonna get with, somebody as green as he is. But they're kind of showing that he's still pretty raw,
Yeah.
and which is the point,
He is like
with
25, right? Or 24. Like he's young. So
yeah. So it was a good match. It was fine, but it proves Danielson's point.
Mhm.
So, let me coach you up, show you how to do this, and you'll be a killer. So, and I agree with you. It's going to end up with him and Moxley having this insane match, and then they start in their own factory and bringing in, Garcia and the guys they were talking about, and doing a whole faction type of thing.
yeah, because everybody has to have a faction in AEW. We can't have singles guys. So yeah. Well, I mean, but then again, if you bring in Cesaro in that route, I'm all in on that Ray. Now that I think about it,
Uh-huh.
so apparently they're pretty good friends with Brian Danielson and Cesaro. So
That's true.
that'd be a good little get. So, and then we did have Rampage last night. Sammy Guevara defeated Andrade. Good opening match. Another win for Sammy Guevara. We'll have to wait for the Face of the Revolution match for his next challenger, I believe, because that's happening Sundays. So, any thoughts on the match there, Greg?
No, good match. I half expected Andrade to win, but
Oh,
you
really?
know, yeah, for some reason I was kind of thinking that Andrade was going to win, by with uh, all
HOA,
the particulars outside there.
HOF, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Everybody at ringside, you thought there was going to be some shenanigans, but there's some type of weird uh, power struggle. You can tell with it looked like Hardy was pushing his Andrade's foot off the rope so he would get pinned for some reason. Um, there's some weirdness going on there. So
And we're gonna get Darby, Sting, and who else? Because it's gonna be that Tornado Trios match. Remember?
right.
Is it Sammy? Now I need to look it up, don't I?
I think it is Sammy.
Well, we're getting obviously Tornado Tornado tag because Sting is there. You probably don't want Sting to. Are we going to finally get? Are we going to get another incarnation of Broken Matt though? That they've been teasing that too.
They have been, but
Or
at the
do we
same time,
wait till Jeff Hardy gets in there?
right? Like I said, at the same time, we just posted last week that video they recorded, Matt and Jeff together, alluding to one more run.
Mhm.
So I don't see them doing it as Broken Matt and Brother Nero.
So some
I think it's
new
being more.
incarnation.
It's going to be, I think, closer to the Team Extreme than
Okay.
Broken Matt and Brother
Like
Nero.
like a retirement tour. The
Possibly.
band's going out. The band it's Kiss going out for their 15th retirement tour. Yeah, I mean, he has been teasing it, and there was a video somebody posted of him saying delete. I mean, wouldn't we love to hear Brother Nero? I knew you'd come, or I knew you'd come, like some point.
It would be funny, yeah.
So,
Um,
or they could do some different incarnation of it. Like you maybe not. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if we get Team Extreme, it makes sense because then but then they'd have to be done after that. Like, I'm done with
yeah,
the Hardy Boys as a team. So, Sarita Deeb and Wardlow, they won. And then Anthony Bowens, I put cursed by Orange Cassidy because we saw Danhausen up here. We have yet to see Danhausen wrestle. I'm waiting for that day, Greg, since like you, I think we both
yep.
said we have not officially seen Danhausen wrestle.
No, we
And
haven't.
he has done a lot of cursing of people. So Orange Cassidy in the Face of Revolution match makes sense. The Acclaim, they just keep getting the singles matches though, don't they? I keep forgetting they're a tag team, but every time I see them, I feel like they're doing one-on-one matches. So it's like, okay, are you going to go in on them at some point? Really get them moving as a tag team. But Orange Cassidy picks up the win. So that is my Rampage review in a nutshell. Greg, how about yourself?
Uh, I did like the match at the end. Orange and Bowens, especially "Word to Your Mother," was a pretty funny spot.
Real quick, do we like Bowens better than Max? I think in the ring, or
Yeah, Bowen seems more legit than Caster, who just is rapping and not
it could
very
be more like
well.
oh my, yeah, his raps, he needs to go back into work with Dre and Eminem, and he needs to go back to ask the Super Bowl performers, because sometimes, yeah, he has some misses definitely with that. Well, it feels
Yeah,
like with his raps, he's trying to hit too far over the line, and they don't really
right.
land. Like, I think if you just did a fun, you know, maybe towing that line, I think it'd be a lot better. But I feel like he's trying to push too much, and a lot of times, like we said, they just don't. It doesn't go over. So
Right. His line this time about finding out the best friends doesn't have any black people was kind of funny.
yeah,
That got a reaction from the audience. But
especially during
yeah,
this month, I guess that makes sense.
yeah, it's they're usually more misses than hits though by
Yeah,
a long shot. But Bowens does seem like to be the more legit member of the two.
he might be the Shawn
So
Michaels, not Marty Jannetty.
right.
Not that he's going to be on Michaels level at all, but that's our Mendoza line of tag teams. So
Yeah.
all right. Was there anything else from Rampage that you wanted to touch on that I might have missed?
No, I think we got it.
All right. Well, let's get into our last commercial break, and then we will get into our last call about The Undertaker.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSPORTS1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
So this is my fault, Greg. I think it was your turn for the last call, but I forgot to mention that to you. So I will do the last call this week, and then you can have it all next week. And I know you're good for a double part, so you could give us the double shot next week if you'd like to make up for it. But I figured you might go this route as well. Who will induct the Undertaker first? Hall of Fame induction. Have at it. Who do you think will be that speech?
A lot of interesting possibilities.
Mhm.
There's the obvious, Michelle McCool.
Hmm?
She could tell some really interesting stories, especially about the behind the scenes, um, what that's been like. Um, then you have, um, Kane, which would be an obvious choice. But that's not where I'm going. I'm going to go. And then there's the whole idea of I've heard about a Paul Bearer hologram, which if they could pull it off would be interesting. But I've seen
That would
that
be the
a few
most
times.
that would be the most Undertaker-esque thing ever if they had a Paul Bearer freaking hologram. Oh my God! Like, oh, sorry, I can't
Yeah,
even.
WWE production as rock stars as they are, I wouldn't hate it as long as they could nail it. But
I mean, you'd have to nail that. Like,
yeah, my choice though is going to be Mick Foley
yeah.
because you go back to Undertaker's most iconic moment, and that's throwing him off that cage and that match. You know, I still remember where I was when I saw that moment happen. This is when pay-per-views were truly pay-per-views, and you had to pay $60 to see it. And instead of paying $60, I knew a sports bar close to where I lived, and they showed all the pay-per-views, and went there with a bunch of friends. They had giant monitor TVs on all the walls, and it was a big deal. Everybody was, place was packed every pay-per-view Sunday.
Yeah.
And when that moment happened, the whole room gasped because at that time we'd never seen that before. We'd seen tons of cage matches. We'd seen blood and guts. We'd seen, all the things you can do from a cage, except a dude getting thrown off of the cage and not into the ring, but off the cage through a table. And, shout out to JR, the way he called it, it's broken in half and you can see his tooth sticking out of his nose. And, we were very concerned for his health at that point because, all you saw was shards of table and him bent up into the fetal position and Undertaker standing at the top of the cage looking at him. And then the match continues and he gets back up and he climbs back and he choke slams him through the cage. And the cell gives and he crashes to the mat. And depending on who you talk to, that was or was not planned. I'd have to feel that it wasn't because the way he hit the mat, I don't think he was ready for that. But that is the biggest, most iconic moment, I think, of his career. That's the one thing we all remember about it. And, the other epic matches they had, the boiler room matches, all the different gimmick matches that they had. I think that Mankind, Cactus Jack was the biggest rival for The Undertaker and the most iconic of all of his feuds. And he's had some awesome ones. So I think that he should be the one to do the speech for The Undertaker.
Well, and man, this is why I wish that they could do all Undertaker, the whole Hall of Fame, because you could do multiple. Like you said, you have, and maybe they'll do it on SmackDown. Maybe throughout the night, you can have, Shawn Michaels say some words, Triple H say some words, Mick Foley say some words, all the Roman. I mean, even Roman could say some words about him. I mean, they they work together. I think it's going to be Kane. I think it's going to be Kane. I feel like that just, have Glenn Jacobs out there thanking him for all his time together. Because like Glenn, he said, I wouldn't be anybody if it wasn't for Taker. Who's to say? I feel like Shawn Michaels would still be somebody. Triple H probably would. I mean, Mick Foley probably owes a lot too. But this is why I said I wish we could get a multi-man, multi-woman. I mean, you could have the women speak on them too. So hopefully on SmackDown that night, they'll do some vignettes for that. So I think it's going to be Kane. But if it's just going to be fun to hear Taker speak kind of open-ended on that end. We've had the documentary crew with him, whatever was that 2 summers ago, The Last Ride.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since we've kind of heard him talk like that. So, because I always thought, how in the world do you induct him? So it kind of helps that they've given us that now, because now he doesn't have to be Undertaker. He can be Mark Calloway and kind of talk that up. So
yeah, that package that they did on him
We're going to see
during
that for the next
elimination.
6 weeks, Greg.
Holy,
So-
hey, that is 5 minutes of my life I will happily
That's
spend
true, yeah.
every day because
I
that
might get
package
tired
is
of it by
amazing.
WrestleMania, but
Yeah,
but
but right now that's
there's never
amazing.
going to be a better one. So
Yeah, and he should go in by himself. I hope that he is just the class because he is the one person that has transcended the whole WWE. And when you look back in the record books, as far as the Hall of Fame inductions, you know, 5 people, 6 people, 5 people, 6 people, whatever. That one year you had one guy go in, and that guy is the Undertaker. It's the one thing that sticks off the page. If you looked at it chronologically, true. And you look at it chronologically, this one year, just this guy, and that's the way it should be. There shouldn't be anybody going into his class because everybody's going to be overshadowed.
Like I said, if they're going to do it, then after SmackDown, then just have it just be him. Maybe
Right.
give a little package for everybody, and then he gets the last, 20 minutes or whatever. And then you could have, a few people speak on him, even if it's pre-recorded, and then maybe somebody does it live, Mick Foley does it live. I mean, I would say Vince, but I've heard Vince never wants to involve himself, outside of the behind the curtain for that. So, yeah, but Vince has to speak on something on it. So, all right, well, that's all I got today, Greg. I kind of cut this short at the end because got to run and get some things ready for the rest of my day. But thank you for being on here with me, of course. And we got Revolution next week. I just now realized it, so we'll be predicting that up next week.
Hey, sounds good to me, man.
And I will
Always a
give
pleasure,
you
man.
the double fister of next week for the last call. So
You
make
know
it
it.
good.
Behind the
All
bar,
right, well-
pouring up. Let's go.
All right. Well, let's have a good one and talk to you guys later.
Peace.